Good morning, hello, and also good day to everyone joining us today. Welcome to the event Out of the Crisis, the Role of Digital Technologies in the COVID-19 Crisis. This is a full virtual event. You guys, you are joining us here virtually from Switzerland, from Europe, and actually from all over the world. First of all, let me wish and hope that every one of you is staying healthy and safe in these exceptional times. And I think this event here is somehow very actual, more actual than I actually wish it to be. We have a fantastic lineup of experts today. We have about 7 hours of interesting talks. And these experts are also joining us here on the virtual stage in order to talk about their experience and their insights, which they have gained over the last couple of months, how digital technologies can make a difference in this difficult time. Now, again, welcome on board. I hope you can hear me well. I hope you can see my screen. I am speaking to you right now from the beautiful city of Bienne in Switzerland. We're located in the canton of Bern. And this event is organized by the Swiss Smart Factory. The Swiss Smart Factory is part of Switzerland Innovation Park in Bienne. And we are the competence center for Industry 4.0 here in Switzerland. If you are not familiar with us, I suggest you go to our website, you get in contact with us, and as soon as the situation allows it, come over and visit our unique test and demonstration center here in Biel. Now, I'm Dominic, and I'm the head of the Swiss Smart Factory. I'm guiding you today through this fantastic program. Luckily, I don't have to do that alone. I have on my side Professor David Romero. David is just now joining us from Mexico City. So, David, if I'm not completely wrong, it's late night in Mexico City. I guess you're sitting there with a freshly brewed cup of coffee. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Quite happy to start very, very early today with, as you mentioned it, with a great line of speakers that will be sharing their experiences with us. And let me just start by saying thank you very much to all the contributors to this amazing event, from our speakers to our attendants, that we look forward to your questions to our experts, and we wish you that you enjoyed as much as we expect that you will be enjoying this event.
Thank you, David. It's actually great that still in these difficult times we can join our forces and collaborate. Of course, at this time of the year, usually we would invite our colleagues, we would invite the community over here to Switzerland to discuss on very pleasant topics of, for example, the future of manufacturing. But yeah, due to the fact that we are in the middle of this COVID-19 crisis, I have to admit it's most unfortunate that we have to put this topic now here in the center. So COVID-19 is at the moment impacting our personal life tremendously. And as I said, this event is actually more relevant and more actual than we would wish. So if you, and then just I give you a few impressions. So if you look at the infection numbers that we have here in Switzerland, we are currently going through the second wave. So we have the new high of infection numbers, and with that we have also to bear the new consequences of lockdowns and of course also all the personal restrictions that we have to take into account. Now, this applies basically to Europe and also to many Western countries. But there are some countries that perform better than others. So Korea, for example. And now also the idea of today's event is to learn from each other and see what are other countries doing differently there. The great thing is we have Korea on the panel. We have Professor Dong Kim talking to us soon about how Korea is coping with the crisis. So this is going to be very interesting. We have to state that there is a trend that Western countries are currently coping with the second wave, while Asian countries are still on some sort of a low in numbers. So there's a constant low in the Asian countries. And of course, there are many reasons. But the question could also be, is the way of adopting and accepting technology one of the reasons why the countries in Asia are performing better on that? It's an open question that we might consider today during our talks and discussions. And clearly, we have also to understand that the COVID crisis is first of all a health crisis impacting our personal life. It's a very tragic crisis, and it's not only a health crisis, it translates automatically in an economic crisis with the impacts like lockdowns. And the question is, how can digital technologies make a difference in these situations? Now, on the health perspective, there's a lot we can do. Think about tracing apps, think about development of vaccination and new meds. But today we are rather focusing on the impact that digital technologies can do in order to overcome the economic crisis. So just to position us a little bit in the event today. I guess as we speak here, everyone would agree that our work the way we work has changed. There's a new normal at work, and the fact that we are in this video conference right now is actually speaking for that. So the world is actually transitioned into the new normal of remote work and remote learning. We are learning a lot about this today. We will hear about this today in our sessions. In the first session about data sharing, in our second session where we focus on new remote trends. And if you are Microsoft is today on the panel, then you have the numbers. So you see that the usage of these online tools, they are actually increasing exponentially. But using online conferencing tools, is that actually digitalization? I think there's much more to that. Digital collaboration platforms are only one side that now is in the focus, but I mentioned already remote technologies at a larger scale. We have also opportunities for seamless data sharing between companies, which have been before in silos. And of course, automation plays a critical role because automation can take over processes where humans cannot go. So I'm not only speaking about automation of manufacturing processes, we are good at that, but I'm also increasingly seeing automation of cognitive processes as very crucial. And there's a chance also that this crisis will push us forward. There were some surveys that state this trend of automation and digitalization is ongoing. So we expect that not to be over even if the crisis is over. Flexible production concepts are crucial to change quickly from producing one product to another product, which is maybe more in demand. So industry has to be flexible in order to be resilient. And of course, even if you are a small company, small and medium-sized companies, they have to look into e-commerce because e-commerce is where things are going to happen right now. So if we sum up all of these technologies, and there are more, then we have to say, many of these things we have talked about already for quite a while. And in the year 2011, when we came up with the concept of Industry 4.0, then actually that were all technologies that were already in the basket. So if, and that's just what I would also throw into the round, if companies would have adopted these technologies already quite early, then I would suppose that they do better today in this crisis. Now, we have to continue on the path with these technologies. We have to continue on the fourth industrial revolution, that is clear. And just to give you proof, there is new opportunity, for example, in e-commerce. So even if you sell a product in a local store, think about how can you transform to an online platform. Yeah? So companies have to take that into account, this changing also mentality of the clients. Now, there's also opportunity. Let's say this year trade shows are off the table, cannot happen. If you produce furniture for trade shows, it's rather bad for you, right? But you can switch to something more creative. So instead, there are cases where these people start to produce plexiglass walls, which are currently in high demand in order to keep distance. Or if you are a producer of perfume and you see that the demand of perfume is probably decreasing, disinfectant is in high demand. So you can switch your production to producing disinfectant, what we also have seen. So these are just a few examples, but we will hear about much more thrilling examples today during our journey. And I would like to just quickly present you the amazing program that we have prepared for you. We're now at the opening. And very soon, Dr. Francisco Betti will speak to us from the World Economic Forum with a situation assessment. Then we have Professor Dong-Sap Kim from Korea telling us how Korea is dealing with the crisis. So I think that is very interesting for us here in the Western countries to learn. And we start our first session after that on global collaboration despite local lockdowns. We have Dr. Dominic Gorecky joining us, giving us exclusive insights on Gaia-X, European cloud platform. We have Koki Mitani-san from NTT joining us on global data infrastructure for data sharing between businesses. And we have Microsoft with Roger Müller, which talks about how their customers applying these new technology platforms, not only Teams or Zoom, but there's also much more that is now possible to ease the problems that industry is coping with. Then we have a short coffee break. I think David will need that to get an espresso shot to stay awake. And we go in the second session about remote technology trends for knowledge transfer. We have we have Thomas Sürscher on the panel. He's the CEO of a world-leading company for remote training for industries. Highly interesting to learn how he's now seeing the change of remote technologies. We have one of the leading startups in augmented reality on board with Frank Hassler, and he will tell about a success story of one of his clients. So that's also very interesting to learn how have they now used augmented reality to overcome the crisis. And we have an expert talk, which I'm looking forward to, from Markus Stormann, Professor Markus Stormann, which is an expert for remote education. And he tells us how education has changed now in the last couple of months and where the trend is going. Then we have a lunch break, or for David, this is breakfast. And after that, we go into session 3. This is now the industrial perspective, resilience and recovery, industrial insights. We have Milan Kumar, CIO of ZF and WAPCO, a huge supplier for automotive. And he tells us about the struggles the automotive industry has gone through the last couple of months. We have Garen Kim from a Swiss machine tool producer that tells us how they're doing in the crisis. We have Miguel Mendoza, CEO of ADS Data Systems, a Mexican integrator that has just concluded a project in Brazil, delivering machines to Brazil without going there. So also that is, I think, an interesting story that we would like to hear and where we would like to learn from. Then Oscar Lazaro will give us a more pro-European perspective in how can we repurpose our manufacturing infrastructure and become more resilient overall. So this almost concludes then the day at 4 p.m. Central European time. We have the conclusion that is then given by David here to the panel. And we end the event. So we hope you stay with us during the day. We hope that more of you guys are going to join us today. We also will record this event. And before I forget, I hope you will join us also actively with questions. We have, after each session, enough time for question and answers. So please don't be shy, interact with us. We are very happy to get your feedback. Now, with no further delay, I would like to introduce Dr. Francisco Betti from the World